you guys aren't going to get a stretch like this for 6 months or more to have this many days to practice in a row. What do you feel like has been the most critical thing you've gotten out of this weekend?
Um, Getting into shape, ironing out like the kinks of preseason, um, just tightening things up offensively, adding a few things, uh, basically tightening the screws for game one.
Mark was just saying you guys have a system partly so that if guys are out, the thing can keep humming and you guys can keep rolling, playing the same way. It's not dependent, How do you feel like that you guys have done on that process so far of like really, trying to be in tune on what that system is so that when guys aren't out, it's more seamless?
Yeah, I think that's what makes us good. We have so many guys that can plug in and out of lineups and roles, um, and it gives us different looks, different nights. But ultimately, allows us to play the same style of basketball no matter who's out there. And it's like a sense of consistency and like it's consistency for us, and we know what we're trying to get done as a team, no matter who's in or out.
Say, I gotta ask about the pull-up three. And obviously, you shot them more in the preseason. I just wonder, like, how much of a point of emphasis was that for you in the summer, and what about last season showed you that maybe that was something you wanted to work
Um, every summer, I go into it trying to get better, um, and there's always something you can do. There's always an area. No, you're never gonna be a perfect basketball player. Um, and I wanted to use the preseason to try to implement my work over the summer, and try to transfer it to the game. I think I did an okay job of that.
on? So, sorry. So with the three specifically, like, why pull-up threes? Like, why now? What'd you see?
Oh, just for fun. Like a couple summers ago, I shot mad mid ranges, just for fun. Yeah, some step backs a couple summers ago, just for fun. Like every summer, I want to become a more complete basketball player, and I add stuff to my game. Um, but yeah, I guess that's the root of it all.
You wake up this morning and it's officially game week. Do you still get excited for that first game?
Yeah, absolutely. The summers always go by fast, but feel long at the same time. Um, but yeah, I'm definitely excited for game one to get the season underway. It's the best time of the year.
Do you love that challenge right away? You get a good measuring stick on how good this team can be after game one when you play someone like Denver in Denver?
Yeah, Denver is obviously a really good team. They're in the Western Conference. We're gonna play them a certain amount of times, no matter what. Whenever it is, doesn't really matter. They make you play your A game, and it's gonna be a good test for us to bring it opening night for sure.
Does it feel different the expectations around the league, talking from other players about what you guys did last season? You're supposed to be good this year. Does that make this year different to start than say past year?
Not at all. I feel like especially in the last couple of years, we've come into this season um, pretty confident individually and as a group, that we can get certain things done on the floor every night. And I think that's our same approach. We don't really worry or care about the expectations or what's going on outside of this building and what people are saying or what people think of us. We've gotten this far this fast because we've chipped away at it every day and worried about these four walls. And I think we understand that, and we're not going to vary from that because we win more basketball games. You know what I mean?
You guys are young, but you play a lot of basketball. Seems like you've been around a little bit. So, do you feel like veterans, even though you are still young in age?
Um, yeah, as the years go by, you definitely start to feel a little bit wiser, a little bit older, especially when your teammates are all 22 and under. But
The old man.
yeah, 26 feels old. It's crazy. I think I'm like the third oldest or something like that, fourth oldest on the team. But yeah, you with every year comes experience, comes wisdom, and it'll happen for every guy on the roster. They go through the years, get smarter, get better, and hopefully we're a better team because of it.
So you mentioned that you're never going to be a perfect basketball player. Just throughout your careers, the concept of perfection, is that something you battled with?
So the what for perfection?
Just the concept of it.
Um, Not at all. At early in my career, I was focused on perfection, and perfection is more so like an outcome. And as I've grown in the league, I've focused more on the process, focused more on my development in day to day as opposed to year to year. And it's allowed me to get better in a fast amount of time because of it. So I would say, yeah, early in my career for sure. And as I've grown, I've come to let it go a little bit.
You have been with Mark since day one when he took over the job for Billy Donovan. How has he evolved since then?
He's I honestly feel like he's the same guy. He he's basketball smart, obviously. He's humble, and he commands the room in a humbling way, and guys respect him because of that. Now, obviously, his X's and O's he keeps learning like everyone else does, but he's remained the same and consistent throughout the whole process, through the ups and downs, through the winning and losing. And I think that's what makes him special and who he is, and he's done a great job of that.
Shay, there was a possession in Atlanta where you got a corner three. I forgot who passed it to you, but you were right there in front of the bench. It was like kind of a really cool moment, able to turn around. Your teammates were celebrating you. Just that's not a shot that you've gotten a lot. Just what did that tell you about just kind of the offense and how you guys were playing there?
Yeah, we have a method, a game plan offensively that we like to say is our identity. Touch the paint, move the ball, extra passes. And the more that we all buy in and we all play within that, the more that we all drive, we all kick, we all swing, we all shoot, we're all ready to shoot, the harder it is going to be for teams to guard, especially later in the season. And being able to plug into that, obviously I isolate a lot in the games, but being able to plug into that and be a weapon in that as well is something that I've tried to get better at and one of a focus of mine. So yeah, that's kind of where that comes from.
The other night, Caruso subbed in for Chet. It was 5 guards on the court. I don't know how much y'all do that, but it was like a feeding frenzy with turnovers, things of that nature. How much fun is it when you got 5 guys out there that can all really defend and are willing to defend?
Yeah, it was fun. It's always fun to play small. Like, you don't have to worry about coverages really. Everything's a switch. Everything's a red. You pressure the ball. Someone helps. The other guy's sprinting to cover up on the backside. You just play with energy and effort and play aggressive. And it kind of takes the thinking out of the game defensively. So yeah, we definitely enjoy that. Now we are definitely our best when Chet is at the rim. So I don't think we'll switch 24/7, but yeah, we definitely enjoy and like to have different styles we play defensively.
From your rookie season to now, it seems like your shots kind of changed. What made you make the decision to sort of like do it incrementally rather than sort of all at once?
Yeah, it's just it'd be hard to change. I think I was 20 my rookie year, 20 years of shooting a basketball in 3 months, 4 months, 5 months. So I think you chip away at it. I built habits, at the time, bad habits of shooting a basketball in a certain way. And it takes time for them to break and to create good ones, new ones. So that's I guess the method to that madness. But like everything, like it takes time, it takes a process. And if you can stick out that process, the outcome is usually thumbs up.
So you're just talking about the perimeter defenders that this team has, and I wonder, as a guy that is always trying to break down defenses, just with the kind of cumulative nature of you and Jada. I mean, I can do a whole list of guys on the perimeter that are hard to get past. What that can be like, maybe for opponents this year to have to deal with.
Yeah, it could be challenging. Now with all the we have a lot of individually really good defenders. We still have to play together defensively, or else it won't be challenging. NBA players are too good. So that's the main thing, like making sure that we, like the offensive end, along with your individual talent, play together and work together on both ends of the floor. And that's what our main focus is. We all understand what we can and cannot do and bring to the game. We have a lot of guys on the team that bring a lot of good things to the game. It's just gelling them together and peaking at the right time this year.
Shay, this is a bit of a broader question, but after all these years, for Sam to see you as a guy kind of worth building around, worth giving the kind of tools you have now, like what does that mean to you?
Yeah. It's a kid's dream. Like you watch basketball and no knock on anybody that's not like a star player, but like growing up, you watch Kobe Bryant, the cornerstone of the Lakers franchise. You watch LeBron James, the cornerstone of the Cleveland franchise. You watch Allen Iverson, the cornerstone of Phillies franchise. Like those are the guys that are like they're budding in your face when you watch the game of basketball, and the guys that you go out there and try to emulate and go out there and inspire you to play the game. And indirectly, he's giving me that opportunity to go be that guy. And I try to just take full advantage of the opportunity. But yeah, that's up to Sam.
Did Dub practice today?
He did more today than he did yesterday, but he continues to be day to day.
And then just in terms of maybe what you saw from Denver, who did not play, some of their core guys, anything you take from that experience in terms of a strategic standpoint, or do you feel like they were just kind of running base stuff for most of the night?
More base stuff. Obviously, when Jokic and Murray are out there, they're the focal point of a lot of what they do offensively. And we're familiar with their team. They have a lot of continuity from last season. And so we're familiar with them from our experiences last year. So there's a cumulative knowledge that happens over time, especially with the teams that stay together like they have. And so, we feel pretty familiar with them, but we obviously got to get some work in here in the next couple days.
Well, from the preseason game you guys played, there was a clip floating around on Twitter where I think you guys had ran a set, and somebody on Denver side called it out. Do you go into games expecting teams to know every set that you run, that kind of thing, or what's your expectation going into games?
About their awareness of our stuff? Everybody's different with that. We're not overly paranoid about other people knowing our calls. You end up knowing everybody's stuff by the end of the year, usually anyways. A lot of the stuff is named the same way. The calls are really for our guys to be on the same page, and then you got to play out of it. But to be honest with you, if you spend all your time trying to figure out the other team's calls and you get your players bogged down in that, it can really slow their legs down. So we don't spend a ton of time teaching the guys all the terminology, but it can give you a slight advantage in the game.
I know you mentioned a guy like Hardenstein. He recognizes those really well. Where does the balance lie in, being able to recognize some of that stuff but not really dwelling on it like you mentioned?
Well, his stuff I thought was more, he may learn a call, but he really learned the spacings and the patterns of what you're doing. And so he'd come down the floor, he'd recognize what you're trying to do pretty quickly and talk the rest of the team through it, which the five men can do a good job of. Jay Will's like that too. Chet is learning that, as he gains more experience. So, but that was more the value, I thought. He knew the calls, but I don't know that, again, I'm not sure, that's giving you this huge advantage, especially in a league where it's not as set play oriented. I think 20 years ago, it was more set play oriented, and maybe that was a little bit more relevant.
Early game, are you playing more? Because Denver, Jokic is there. They're missing KCP. Are you playing the coach, what he likes to do, or are you playing the players, what you think they will do?
A lot of it is the players, obviously. At this point in the season for us, it's not, we haven't done anything with Denver yet because we're really trying to use these practices to prepare for the whole season and in the first block of games. Because once you start playing, it's harder and harder to practice. But it's mainly player driven, to be honest with you, and then system driven, which has to do with the coach. If you're playing a team that has a new coach, you're definitely get your eye on what they're doing that might be different. But the players' tendencies are about the same, and ultimately, Jokic, Murray, the way they attack on offense is what you have to deal with, regardless of what they're running.
Kaysen told us that about this time last year, on the personal side of things, he was just really observing and kind of, being quiet, watching everybody, and then eventually, as the season started to unfold, he really started to make memories and form bonds with the guys. I just wonder if anything stood out to you about the way that he handled himself personally and how the players, how his teammates kind of, included him in things over time last year.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely a more introverted person who kind of hides and watches. That's his nature, I think, personally. But he had respect from the guys right away. I mean, that didn't take long at all. And it's because of who he is as a guy, how he competes. He's inside the team. He's tough as a person and a player. And those things tend to earn you respect pretty quickly in an NBA locker room. And, he was able to do that right off the jump.
With Hart being out, how much is, I don't want to call it experimentation, but has changed? You have to stop a little bit with him being out.
Yeah, I mean, we have a system that, can bend to whoever's on the court. And so if you have, part of why you do that is if you take injuries, you don't have to change everything based on who's available and who's not. But then within that system, each individual player's styles and strengths hopefully can flower. And he's got unique style for us and unique strengths that when he's back and when he's out there definitely changes us a little bit. But we shouldn't have to go back to the drawing board if anybody's not on the court or not available. And so we've got to be able to lean on that stuff. And, we're going to be, explorational, I would say, but not because he's out. I mean, that's just the way that we approach the beginning of the season and throughout the season anyways. And we're definitely going to do that as we've done in the past. But if he were in, it would be the same. We would be just as exploratory.
Was there anything that stood out to you about Oos this preseason compared to years past?
I think he's better. I think he's a better player. I think he's improved. He's still very young in his life. Guys reach their prime usually around 24 years old. He's still 3 years away from that number. And so it's important to keep that in context when you're evaluating him or assessing where he's at. But he's definitely improved. He's definitely a more functional player. He's improved physically, which is a big deal when you come into the league that young. And the game slowed down for him, and he clearly can get some stuff into the game now. So looking forward to seeing him continue to progress.
You say functionally, is it defense, shooting, like knowing your offense? What are we talking about?
Functional, like defense, like knowing where to be and what to do, being kind of low mistake and reliable on D, and then the same on offense, so like understanding spacing, understanding when to cut, where to cut, understanding the system. It's really just understanding the system on both ends and being able to execute it in a somewhat consistent manner. And that can be difficult for some players early on. And they have to catch up to it. He had to catch up to it a bit, but he's caught up to it nicely.
Mark, I don't know if you've seen this from the other night, but Quincy Olivari, the Lakers' new two-way guy, they had played the Warriors, and he was really emotional about having met Steph Curry. That was someone who watched growing up sign his jersey when he was a kid, and he was crying in the post-game pressing and really was speaking extensively on it. I don't know what it is about this climate. Maybe not speak on him, but generally, what is it about this climate today that makes it so that you don't really see moments like that so often?
What? I don't understand this question.
Being so emotional about having met a guy like that.
I didn't see what you're referring to.
Sure.
However, one of the things that stood out to me at the draft this year was how many guys were emotional at the draft. Almost every guy that got picked was really emotional. I thought that was pretty cool, which would lend to the opposite thing. I thought the players' willingness to show that level of vulnerability in that situation or to be that emotional definitely stood out to me. But I didn't see exactly what you're talking about with the other thing.